Okay, another method of creating points is called polar coordinates. With the polar tracking tool, we can easily, let's just draw, and with the polar tracking tool and direct distance entry, we can easily create something like an equilateral triangle. Let's create a triangle with sides of 2 inches. Okay. If I type in 2 and hit enter, it creates that. If I go 30 degrees off of vertical to 120 degrees and I go 2 again, I can draw to this endpoint. I can right click and pick close. That's probably the easiest way. But there we have a perfect 2 inches long sided triangle. All sides are 2 inches long. The angle is exact because we were using the polar tracking tool. Some of you may find that you don't like the dynamic input, this information kind of being on the screen. If you don't, you can toggle off dynamic input. Let me build on that one more second. Let's instead of using polar tracking, we talked about it earlier, but I want to do a quick review. Let's pick a point, and let's say I wanted to draw at 37 degrees for some reason or other. I can type in the distance or the length to the next point. Let's go with 2 again, just because it's easy. And then I hit the tab key, and I go into the angular input box, and I can type in 37 and hit enter. And now I know that that's exactly 37 degrees off of 3 o'clock, or off of an easterly direction, depending upon how you want to think of it. But I was able to use that dynamic input to take care of that. Back in the old days, old school said we didn't have dynamic input. So let's toggle that off. What I'm going to do is make the dynamic input toggle show up on the screen, and that's this button that just showed up. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And now when I draw a line, you can see I don't have that information. I still have polar tracking that can lock in at specific angles. But if I wanted to draw, let's say a 2¼ inch long line at 42 degrees, for instance, how do I make that happen? We use what are called polar coordinates. I'm going to say at, okay, and the at symbol, now I'm going to kind of look down here because we don't have anything happening at the cursor. We have to realize that all our typing takes place down here. And the at symbol means from where I happen to be, from the last point that was picked, just this pick that happened in space, I want to go 2.25, and then I have to type in the angle symbol. The angle symbol right next to the M on the keyboard, and I give it the actual angle that I want to create, and it creates that line that's 2¼ long at an angle of 42 degrees. If I wanted it to go off this way, let's say 42 degrees off of horizontal in this direction, okay, line from here at 2.25. Now I got to do a little math because I can't just say, okay, go up this way 42 degrees. I have to start at 0 degrees, 90 plus, let's see, well, there's 180. 180 minus 42 degrees is going to be 138 degrees. So I have to go 138, and I get the mirrored image of that. Now we actually have a command called mirror that we could have created it, but there we go. Now if I wanted to say, did I get that right, I can go up here to my measure tool and measure the angle between this line, and then I got to find a horizontal line, and I happen to have one down here, and it tells me the angle between those two is 42 degrees. We don't get it on the screen like we were getting earlier because we've turned dynamic input off. But I just wanted to show you how to enter polar coordinates using that at symbol, and then the distance, and then the angle symbol. and then the number of degrees.